So I'm going to start in at chapter 2. Mike grew up in Warren, Michigan in a small house in a dead-end street that ran along the railroad tracks near 10 Mile Road. His father, Frank, was a butcher at Kroger, and his mother, Susan, was a substitute teacher and an organist at the local Lutheran church. Mike had an older sister, Pauline, who loved to act and dance, but who was too big to be a ballerina. She joined the circus when she was 17 and traveled around the country as a clown. Mike's parents didn't drink, and there was never alcohol in the house except for some wine on holidays and cheap beer on the 4th of July for the brothers-in-law. Frank didn't watch sports, and he enjoyed working on his model railroad and model ships. He worked Monday to Saturday and would spend Sunday cooking a stew from the leftover scraps of meat he brought home during the week. The stew would start with several chopped onions, a fistful of chopped carrots and celery, and 8 potatoes cut into large chunks. Frank would fill the big pan with his bits of steak, pork roast ends, deboned chicken legs, and wings, lamb, fat, and salt. He'd fry it all while the vegetables simmered in the large pot. When the meat was brown, he'd toss it into the pot with the veggies and fill the pot with water. The stew would simmer all day, filling up the house with warm, rich smells. It was a family tradition for all of them to forego eating after breakfast on Sunday so they could stuff themselves with Sunday stew at dinner. When Pauline joined the circus, Mike was 14. Pauline was simple. Even Frank and Susan admitted this. Mike was mature and wise for his age. When Mike asked if he could tag along with Pauline for the summer and help out with the circus, Frank and Susan agreed. Mike would later think their decision was dubious, if not irresponsible, but he figured they were sick of parenting and wanted a break. During the day, he'd clean cages, shovel elephant shit, and experience the endless parade of towns, audiences, performers, animals, and acrobatics. At night, sitting by the campfire, Mike learned to drink. His first taste of alcohol was vodka given to him by a dwarf. It was July on the first night of the circus's stay in Cleveland. The day had gone well, they had a good crowd, and the clowns and dwarves sat around a campfire, some of them with smudges of makeup still on, playing guitars, ukuleles, toy wind instruments, and makeshift drums. A bottle of booze made its way around the fire. Pauline drank with the rest of the clowns. Mike thought she'd be disappointed if he did. Tonight, Pauline and Steve the trapeze artist ran off into the woods, and Leo the dwarf insisted that Mike take a swig. Mike took a small sip, his lips only opening enough to let a couple drops pass. He felt a warm, clean sensation on his tongue, and his heart sped up at the thought of how bad he was to be drinking, how cool the circus performers were, and how he wanted to grow up and impress someone. He lowered the bottle from his lips and smiled. "You faking us, son?" Leo scolded. "You didn't even take half a sip, much less a real circus swig. Are you a man, or are you your sister's puppet?" Mike took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and tilted the bottle up to his mouth and drank the biggest swig he could imagine, until he almost choked, dropping the bottle and coughing with his eyes watering and throat burning. The clowns and dwarfs burst into a raucous laughter like only drunken circus performers can do. From that night on, Mike would partake in the nightly fireside booze ritual. At first, he would hide it from Pauline. It was his secret, shared with the dwarfs and clowns. Over time, he grew more relaxed, and Pauline found out. She didn't care. Pauline was a loose clown. When she slipped into the woods with acrobats or animal trainers, the other clowns would look at each other and wink, or make a comment that Mike didn't understand. One Saturday, they were all joking while preparing for a performance, and Mike passed by and repeated what he thought were words of encouragement he had heard one of the clowns say about his sister. "Go get him, Pauline. Tonight's the night you'll blow the whole big top." Pauline looked aghast, and her face flushed under her makeup. "What did you say?" "Blow the whole big top, Pauline. You can do it." Pauline slapped Mike hard across the face and turned to the head clown, Tiny. "Where the fuck did he get that?" Tiny shrugged and smirked. With his sad face makeup on, the mixed-up expression on his face looked sinister. Pauline stormed off, and Leo took Mike aside. "Look, Mikey," he said, "the things we say around the fire when it's just guys are just for the guys. You don't repeat them to anyone, and especially not to your sister. There's a dwarf clown man secret pact in the circus, and if you're going to be part of this group, you need to follow the rules. You understand?" Mike understood that he wasn't a full member of the gang he had tried so hard to fit in with. He understood that he was unlikely to become a full member of the gang, until he was a man, and that wasn't going to happen before school started up again in the fall. He didn't have time to waste with school while things were happening around the fire and the circus moved on to warmer cities for the winter. He committed himself to learning to be more than his older sister's guardian. He learned to be a clown and make himself indispensable.